Everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Tammy Talks here. We are here for another recap of And Just Like That, Season 1, Episode 6, Diwali. So, there were some comments that the sound was too low in the last video, so I have my microphone up and plugged in. So, let me know how the sound goes this time around and if it works out for you all. So, if you're brand new to my channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Thumbs up the video if you enjoyed the content. I'm super close to 2,000 subscribers, y'all. So help me out. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. And let's go ahead and get right into it. So the episode starts out with Carrie looking at a new apartment downtown with Anthony. It's completely white. It's very minimalist. It's very like it looks like a brand new apartment. Tons of natural sunlight. It has a nice terrace out front, a view of the Hudson River. I personally would love it, but Carrie, she's not going to be comfortable anywhere because she is still mourning big and the home that the two of them built together. So she meets up with the girls and Carrie tells them about this apartment, how much she hates it, and they're like, fine, well then, just keep looking. And she's like, nope, I bought it because she feels guilty because she has been dragging Seema, who is her realtor turned friend. She has been dragging her around to all these different apartments, and she's just being super, super picky. She hasn't found an apartment that she absolutely loves. And Miranda is like, you should love where you live. So, why did you buy the apartment if you're not completely happy with it? Carrie says that she feels that it's time for her to move on. Big is gone, which I'm tired of hearing about. I'm tired of hearing about this. We know Big has passed away, Carrie. Carrie, I feel like is that friend that anytime anything is, if she's not the topic of discussion or to kind of rationalize how she's dealing with something, she's going to throw in something to get a little bit of sympathy. We get it. Your husband has passed away. It's completely awful. But it doesn't need to be said every time we're having any type of conversation. I feel like Carrie, even later in the episode, I feel like she diminishes what other people are going through or thinking or saying because she feels that the fact that she lost her husband is the biggest thing ever and everything else is just minuscule and doesn't matter. And I don't like that she does stuff like that. So she says she's going to, she doesn't want to stay in her old apartment because she feels like that's retreating. She lived there when she was 29. She doesn't want to move back there at the age of 55. So we see Charlotte is getting the girls ready for school. Rose/Rock is sitting in her bed and she's eating breakfast. Charlotte is like, there's no need to have breakfast in. Lily is putting on lip gloss. She feels like Lily is putting on too much lip gloss. Charlotte just seems like an annoying ass mother, to be real. Rock tells her that she does not want her room to stay the same. She wants to cover up she wants to get rid of it's like the American Doll collection. She doesn't want those. She wants to cover up the big rose thing on the wall. And Charlotte goes back to always saying, well, Lily does it. Well, Lily does it. And it's Rock tells her we are two different people. You know what I mean? So I am so glad I didn't have I wish I had a sister, but on the other hand, I'm so glad I don't have a sister because I can only imagine how annoying it is to constantly hear, well, your sister, well, this one, they're two different beings. And then Lily goes on to tell her that the dolls are cultural appropriation. And I feel like Charlotte wants her daughters to be exactly like her. She's raising them to be little Charlottes, and when they don't fit into the box that, Charlotte herself is in, she can't take it. She's like, let's just forget about everything. All of this stuff, painting is a really big deal. Let's not worry about painting anything. So we see Miranda is meeting with her professor. Her professor wants her to help with a shelter for displaced women and children. She's showing Miranda some pictures. While she's showing her the pictures, she gets a call from her husband. Her husband wants them to have dinner with some friends of theirs. And they're going to be meeting later because they have to put their kids to bed. The professor is not really thrilled about meeting with this couple because they constantly talk about kids. And she calls the wife Fertile Myrtle. She said 2 kids in 3 years. And she kind of feels like that's all their conversation revolves around. And since she's struggling right now with having kids, she doesn't exactly want to, talk about it. Let's not talk about kids when I'm like struggling to get pregnant myself. So Seema is out with Carrie, and they are looking at some traditional, I think it was Hindu. I'm sorry if that's wrong. But they're looking at some traditional Hindu garb because she's going to go to Diwali at her parents' house. So she's talking about how her parents are always talking about how she doesn't have a date and a husband and all this stuff to go through. And Carrie is like, I'll go with you. So she gets fitted in garb, and then they have this little conversation about cultural appropriation and how because you are coming to my house, I'm inviting you for this specific cultural event. Now it is okay for you to wear that. So words of the wise to white people, if you are going to wear or dress up in some type of garb, like that's the way to do it. Don't just show up in a dashiki. Don't just show up in something because you think you're like paying homage or showing as a sign of respect. You kind of need to get, this conversation was the way to do it. I know people are saying the show is so woke, it's so woke. No. And topics like this are important. So Charlotte and Carrie go to her storage unit. And they're going to find some things for the new apartment. So Carrie is acting like the boxes aren't labeled. We can see the white pieces of paper that has everything labeled in there. But she's looking for sheets and some other things to make, a house a home. And they end up coming across like a lamp and some other stuff. And they're like, great. So she then opens a box, and it's a box of Big's records. And she has a moment, and then she tells Charlotte, like, why don't you just open up all the boxes and then you can tell me what's in them so I don't have surprises like this again. It wouldn't be a surprise, Carrie, if you would just look at the piece of paper on the side of the box and it tells you what's in the box. But they eventually just grab one or two things out of the box. She grabs a skillet, and then she decides that's enough. And she takes that to her new apartment. So she's making salmon, something that we saw her and Big do together. And she's like recanting not too much salt. As she's doing that, she hears a beeping noise. So she's checking the oven and the dishwasher and all this other stuff. Can't figure out what it is. Anthony calls her because he is going to go to a facelift consultation that, I almost called him Statman, that Stanford scheduled for them before, he ultimately moved away. The funniest part of the episode is while, Anthony owns his bread company, Hot Fellas. I think it's called Hot Fellas. But he owns his bread company, and one of the guys was holding the baguettes upside down, and sure enough, the bread fell out, and he was like, 5-second rule. And I said, see, stuff like that makes you not want to order food out ever. But he gets Carrie to agree to go with him. She's asking him about like what could be beeping. He tells her it's the dishwasher. It's always the dishwasher. She is slamming this dishwasher. Can't find out what the beeping sound is. I'm assuming that it is the smoke detector. That's typically what beeps like that. So the professor is at dinner with her husband and their friends, and they keep trying to rear everything towards their kids, and she's cutting them off, and she's talking about shoes and all this other stuff, and they're like, well, let's have some champagne. Myrtle, the wife, says that she's not drinking, and they're like, why? Because you're pregnant? And she actually is. So it's kind of like a gut punch. So the husband, being completely tone deaf, not reading the room, it's like, y'all should have kids. You need to catch up. A couple like you should have kids. What's the hold up? Not realizing that they're having trouble conceiving. So it was just kind of like, come on, sir, you're too old for this. You were too old to not know how to read the room. It's not because they don't want to have kids. They're having trouble having kids. That's really what it comes down to. So the professor said it's just going to come down to timing. Their husband, I guess, was going to be like, well, we're going to work on IVF or adoption, but she cuts him off, and it's like, it's just about timing. She don't really want these people tutu in her business. Like, this is something we still need to discuss. We'll get to that then. So Carrie is eating dinner and the beeping is still going off. She calls maintenance and they're like, yeah, we won't get to that until the morning because, maintenance is closed at this point. So then we see Miranda and she is masturbating with a vibrator to her fantasy of like what her and Che did in Carrie's kitchen. Brady comes to the door because he's telling her he's getting ready to leave. She couldn't even stop for one moment to talk to her child. And it's just like, Miranda, girl, what's going on? What's really going on here? So Anthony and Carrie go to the doctor. The doctor immediately thinks that Carrie is there. And I said, awkward. So he blames it on the assistant. So the doctor tells Anthony he doesn't need to get a facelift, like his 11s are turned into 12s and blah, blah, blah. Tells him that little Botox and he'll be perfectly fine. So Carrie said, well, what about my 11s? So the doctor is like, you're fine, but you could maybe use a half a lift. And really the doctor wanted to be like, girl, you need to get a lot of stuff done. But Carrie was like, I'm tired. I didn't sleep well. My husband died, so that's why I look like this. And this happened, like making all these excuses, kind of making the situation worse. So the doctor offers to give her like a scan to show her what she could get done. And it's like, we can do this and this, like just cutting her face apart, telling her what could be changed. And he shows her like a composite of what she would look like after the surgery, and it makes her look 15 years younger. And Carrie asked him how much would it cost. So she's kind of considering it. So then we have Miranda, Charlotte, and Carrie out having like a little picnic in the park, little lunch. And Miranda said that she hates the doctor for even making Carrie feel like she has to change herself. She said that Carrie was happy with herself before this, and Carrie was like, but was I? Maybe she is okay with having having the surgery because it shaves 15 years off of her face. So they decide to have a drink of like champagne, but it's like non-alcoholic. And Charlotte is like, I'm so proud of you for, cutting cold turkey. Miranda said, well, she might have cut drinking cold turkey, but she has now switched over to like masturbation. So she just has like an obsessive personality. So she said that she has been fantasizing about Che. Charlotte says she's been fantasizing about Che too. And they were like on the boat, and Carrie is like, what is going on? But Miranda was like, it's not really a fantasy, it's more like a replay. And she tells Charlotte, I'm going to tell you something, but I want you to not overreact to it. And she tells her that she has sex with Che in Carrie's apartment when she thought Carrie was asleep. So Charlotte is like, what is going on? So she asks Carrie, did you know about it? And Carrie is like probably trying to forget about it. Miranda is like, we had a fight, we're fine. And Charlotte is like, how are you fine with this? Carrie says, I didn't say I was fine. She said we're fine. So then it becomes Miranda versus Carrie again. It's like, are you not okay with it? Carrie says she doesn't know what to not be okay with. She doesn't understand what is going on. So Miranda's like, I feel like you guys are judged. Miranda feels judged, right? Charlotte was like, so are you gay now because you've been married to a man, you've only ever been with men, and tells her that she is not progressive enough for this. I said, Charlotte, is it Miranda's not progressive enough for this, or are you not progressive enough for this? Because Charlotte is definitely projecting everything that's going on with Rock right now because she can't control it. She can't process it. So it's a lot to her. So Miranda tells her that, I ain't got to settle for this shit. So Charlotte tells her that you were having a midlife crisis and you should have just dyed your hair. So Miranda gets up and she tries to walk away. And Carrie tells her, we can be mad, we can disagree. We have already lost Samantha. We are not going to lose you too. We can have a disagreement and still have a discussion. And what kind of irritated me with Carrie again was Charlotte was saying, like, this is a big deal, and Carrie immediately dismissed it. This is not a big deal. This is trivial. Big dying is a big deal. And it's like, girl, your life is not the only life that matters. I'm so sick of Carrie feeling like the world revolves around her. Everything that people are going through, whether you don't care or not, it does not mean that you can interject that your husband died and we're supposed to feel differently about our current situation. That is a big deal that Miranda is sitting there having an affair. Like, Carrie gets on my last with when she does stuff like this. So Charlotte apologizes to her and says she wishes that everything would just stay the same. And she's referring to, what's going on with Rock right now, because everything is changing. Her little girl is changing. She wants to cut her hair. She wants to identify as, I think she said she's non-binary now. So she is like, Charlotte doesn't know how to take that and how to deal with it. So Carrie is at Seema's party or her parents' party, and Seema's parents are like, so what is going on with Daniel, her boyfriend? He's never around. So Seema has created this whole boyfriend that works with Doctors Without Borders, which means that you're kind of like a traveling doctor to different countries to help out. And Carrie covers for her, and it's like, I think she can do better, yada, yada, yada. So Carrie asks Seema when they have left, like, is it easier for you or easier for your parents to digest that you are still single at 52? And Seema gives her this bracelet and tells her that it's a bracelet to remind her of her strength. Like, you're going to be fine, basically. So the final scene is we see Carrie. She's back in her apartment. She's presumably going to stay there, because she did tell Seema she hated the new apartment, and Seema was like, fine, so we'll just sell it. Like, it's not a big deal. So Carrie starts to unpack some of Big's stuff, and she's listening to his record, so maybe she's finally at peace with it, and we don't have to hear Big died every episode. Maybe that's where that is going. We see Charlotte finally let Rock redecorate her room. She's taking down the American dolls. She let her put up a poster over, the rose that's painted on the wall, the rose name tag that's painted on the wall. And Charlotte's going to try to get more accustomed to what her daughter is going through. And then we see Miranda's doing laundry, and she texts Shay, "This is Rambo. Let's hang out sometime soon." Do we know why she called her Rambo? Is it like, did I forget about it? But I don't. Girl, just go by Miranda. You don't have to go by Rambo. But this has been This is not Sex and the City. This has been, and just like that, the Sex and the City reboot, season 1, episode 6, Diwali. So let me know how you guys feel about the episode. If you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys in the next one.